What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlanta Gladiators podcast. I'm Guy Chiarenza alongside Derek Nesbitt, and today we are joined by Olivia Douglas, Megan Dovell, and Cat McAfee. We're going to be talking about women in hockey here today, and it is a great time to talk about women in hockey as the U.S. team won gold in Milan not too long ago. So, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you could, kind of just one by one, and we'll start with Megan. Just tell us, everybody here, for a little bit about your background, your playing career, what got you into hockey. Just tell us everything there is to know about yourselves.
All right. Well, thanks for asking. I was born in Massachusetts, and then I lived in Michigan for a few years. And that's where, at a young age, I learned to skate on the pond. And I was actually taken to a minor league hockey game called the Detroit Vipers. I think I was in the first grade. And that's when I really got the bug to play, and we started having floor hockey in the gym at school. But at age 8, I moved to Duluth, Georgia, and there wasn't as much hockey, but my parents enrolled me at the now called the Atlanta Ice Forum in Duluth, and I started playing there. Played with all boys up until high school. I was on my high school boys varsity team, but then I also played on some girls travel teams and select teams. And then I played D3 college for a year in Pittsburgh at Chatham University. And then I played D1 ice hockey in Pittsburgh at Robert Morris University. And then I ended up finishing my degree at Kennesaw, working for the Atlanta Thrashers for a couple years before they were finished in Atlanta. And then I kept up playing roller hockey, inline hockey. And then I was on the Georgia team. Then I played on Team USA in 2012 and went to World Champs. And then after that, I got into some other sports, but took me a while. But after all my other sports, but I eventually got back into hockey because some friends asked me to come join, which I just came back to the game after 17 years gone. And I've been playing with these ladies, and I got to thank Kat and everyone for welcoming me. And that's where I'm at now with my hockey journey.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Kat, tell us a little about yourself.
So I was born in Massachusetts as well. I grew up with a pond across the street that we'd all skate on, but we didn't wear equipment. We had sticks that we used to whack pucks around and lose them in the snow. Very unorganized. I moved to Georgia when I was 18. I was a street skater. I had a pair of rollerblades. I used to work at Boston Surf and Sport, so I rollerbladed everywhere in Atlanta, started to do aggressive skating. I rode half pipes and ramps and did lots of jumps and went without a car for a couple of years commuting to school on my rollerblades. And then I stumbled into some roller hockey, and I thought it was just the best sport ever because it combined both my love of hockey and my skating, and started to play roller hockey, teach skating, and started a ball hockey program at Peachtree Church for kids. Grew it from 10 kids to 250 kids in about 10 years. The Thrashers were growing at that time, and we did a lot with them. Coached middle school and high school roller hockey for Galloway, coached some girls teams, and then met my husband on the roller hockey rink. And he got me to play an ice hockey tournament. I didn't even know how to stop, but that was fun. And next thing you know, I started to play ice hockey, and I absolutely just love the sport and love the camaraderie and love now, finally, after all of the hockey I've played, this is my first time playing with a group of girls or women, which is just delightful. Such a difference from playing with the men.
Wow, that's awesome. Olivia, tell us your story.
I was born and raised here in Georgia. I brought home a flyer one year from school. It was probably first or second grade, and it was to try recreational roller hockey at SGAA in Gwinnett County. And so I started playing roller hockey. My parents got me into ice right after 5th grade. I went to a week-long camp at the Ice Forum. I absolutely hated it. I did not want to play ice hockey for a long time. I was roller girl, and I ended up falling in love with ice hockey eventually. I played roller and ice all throughout up until high school. I was on the inline Team USA team from 2008, 2009, 2010. We won a few gold medals. I played high school hockey locally for Brookwood, We won 3 state championships back to back. And I played Tier 1 hockey up in Pittsburgh with Pitt Elite. And I took some time off as an adult, got married, had 2 kids, and now I'm back playing adult hockey.
Well, that's awesome. And it seems like for all of you, and Olivia, it seems like you've been here for pretty much your entire life. What is the biggest change for you from the start to now, from just the growth of women's hockey from way back then to now? And I think every single one of you can see that from the broader scale of just how much it's grown. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, growing up, I was the only girl in the hockey rink, even roller hockey. I met one other girl at the camp that I did for ice hockey when I first started. Her name is Madison, and she actually plays at the ice form still to this day. So it was cool kind of seeing her and catching up. But it's grown tremendously, especially down in the South. It was very, very hard to find an all-girls travel team in the South. So for a lot of the girls teams down here to begin with, you're pulling girls from the state of Georgia and Florida and Alabama and the Carolinas, and you make one big team. And you have practice weekends every so often. Well, now you can probably find a whole team full of people in Nashville. You can probably pull a whole team from the Carolinas. You can pull a whole team from Georgia. There's more and more girls playing hockey, and it's amazing to see, because back then I didn't have that. I had to travel to Pittsburgh to go play. Well, I was very fortunate to have that, but it's nice to see more local girls playing and teams, and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think that really it speaks for the sport as a whole, where hockey is not known as a prominent sport in the South, but it is growing. I mean, you see the success of the teams in the NHL down in Florida with the Lightning and the Panthers, and now it seems like hockey is booming not just in the South but across America. And that kind of brings me to my next question with what the women's team was able to do in Milan. What are you expecting as far as the continued growth of the sport, where young girls are seeing their team win gold overseas? I mean, it is world domination of the sport. Like, you're at the highest peak there. What do you think that does for the sport in terms of the women taking home the gold?
I'll say a little something. I think everybody always enjoys when the Olympics come around, and it always brings in different types of audiences because everyone wants to tune in to see the best of the best in whatever sport they're doing. So I think I've actually already had a couple of friends in Atlanta, females, reach out to me asking, like, hey, do you still play hockey? You did this hockey thing, right? And they're already, even as adults, interested in trying to learn to play hockey. But it's also a great influence for the younger generation and little girls to see that, like, wow, I could be an Olympian. And also with the growth of the PWHL is also growing. Just knowing that there's more opportunities and more paths for girls to grow up into women and to have different avenues and opportunities, I think is great. And I'm just like Olivia said, I was in the same boat where I was always the only girl, and we always had to pull from different states, and it was just meet up for a weekend to do a tournament to try and get scouted, to try and having to compete against like Shattuck St. Mary's, and like it was just tough. But I still cherish those, and I still think that it was some of the best times of my life. And just to see that women can play professional hockey and women in the U.S. can go win a gold medal, I'm here for it. And I think just championing the younger girls and the younger generation is something that we can all do, and we all want to do, even here in Atlanta and Gwinnett.
Yeah, and I'll say, I've been coaching for a really long time, over 25 years, both roller and now ice hockey. And what I've seen is just a real increase in young girls coming into the sport far earlier and a lot more. I can think back 20 years ago, we'd get maybe 1 or 2 girls that would emerge for a season. Now, when we do the learn to play hockey or learn to play hockey for free, there's lots of little girls that are out there with their pink helmets, ready to take the ice by storm, wearing little tutus over their hockey pants, because why not? You can. And I really feel like there's a lot more opportunity for girls to play. We've got 12 U teams, 14 U teams, and Atlanta is really growing a tremendous girls program and women's program too. And that's exciting.
Yeah, that's incredible just to hear those numbers and how much it's really grown over the years. And so, Kat, I'll direct this question to you, but if the other two, if both of you have any answers to this next question, feel free to chime in. If, there is a young girl out there that wants to get into hockey, what is the first step? And what would you recommend that family do to get their kid into hockey?
I think it's so easy to get a pair of skates and get them skating. It could be a pair of rollerblades. They can start skating outside. It'll all transition to the ice. If they're a strong skater and get that foundation, it's all easier. There's lots of learn to skate programs at all of the hockey rinks that'll start kids as young as 3 years old. Mm-hmm. And there's all different levels, so they can start at a real beginner level. And within about 6 months, they would be ready to hit the ice and join one of the learn to play hockey programs. We also have the Try Hockey for Free days that come up at the Duluth Ice Forum or the Atlanta Ice Forum, and they'll give you all the gear that you need. And it's a great way for girls to try the sport without the parents having to make the investment in all of the gear out of the gate. And of course, the Lady Thrashers, if it's a girl that's a little older, maybe she's 14 or 15, they will find gear for the girls as well and take that barrier away to get them on the ice. The hockey community, really, we all want to support one another in the growth of the sport. So if somebody were to come to me wanting to play and they didn't have gear, we could absolutely find them gear. But I would just encourage them to just start skating. It's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, skating is what got me into it. My third birthday, I got those, plastic little Barbie quad skates that you put your teeth in. And there's pictures of me in the driveway learning how to skate. And then I got a pair of actual rollerblades, and my parents took me to the local rink, Sparkles, and that's how I learned how to skate. And here we are today. I'm still skating.
So real quick, I know I love everything you guys are saying. Obviously, I've known Kat and Megan for years. I think what spurred this on is, and I'll bring it up, is you three played together on a team of all women in the adult league here in Duluth. And you mentioned Lady Thrashers, which has been a women's program and team that's been around for years. So I didn't know anything about this team, your Rink Rebels team, until I was there. I started playing more men's league regularly in the spring again, and I was up at the ice forum and I saw a group out there, and I wasn't really paying attention at first, and then I saw this, I saw Dovell ripping around out there. I'm like, I recognize that last name. And then I paid attention. I was like, and then I looked around. I was like, it's an all women's team. And I remember messaging you about it, seeing that. And then, one thing we talked about is April 4th is our Hockey is for Everyone Day. And combining with that, to me, is, we're turning that into obviously a Women and Girls in Hockey Day as well. I know you girls, you got your groups together and are going to have a scrimmage that day before our game. You mentioned the 10U or 12U and 14U teams around Atlanta. So the Atlanta Ice Lynx, who I've went to visit this year, they play. It's a new girls program. Now these girls do play on club teams around Atlanta at different rinks, but then they combine for their girls teams that play in tournaments kind of around the Southeast for the most part in a league. And I know I forget which one offhand, and I apologize. One of them won it this year for their league for the first year. Another lost in the final. So very successful. I believe they're going to try to play as a intermission of that game that night. So have those groups out, try and have a lot of local college teams out, which we've spoke to about, or the women's college club teams to be in attendance that day, so we can recognize them all. I go back to when I first met you, Megan. I think it was like the summer of 2008, if I'm right. And what it was is when Sully was running the Breakaway Grill up here at the Ice Forum at the time, he was also running the adult league, and he ran he actually had me and Cam Brown run an adult clinic, which I know I haven't seen in a while, but I believe it was you and Christina Legault were the only two girls out there, but you were the two best players out there as well. I don't know if any guys are going to see this. Go, wait a minute, I was out there, but just like I remember just working with you two back then, and it was refreshing to see that. Like you could tell you guys had a background in it. That's when I learned of the kind of Thrashers program, the development program that you guys did. You mentioned that. Go into a little more of that and like how, like being involved in the community and being involved in youth hockey as I've done at the Ice Forum with the Phoenix program. Like talk about what it means to have an NHL team here and what that did for not only like the boys programs, but all the girls as well, and all the stuff you guys did behind that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for putting out the 2008 date. But
Yeah,
no, I'm
yeah.
kidding.
I was a lot younger then too.
No, the Thrashers, like they're still such a strong community, even on Facebook groups or people you run
Yeah.
into. Um, but when I worked for the Atlanta Thrashers with their like grassroots development community programs, we would do cross ice, we would do camps and clinics in the summer, we would go to schools, a lot of stuff that the Gladiators do now. Not only was like that I have my team of people I became family with, but as me, one of the only females and being on that particular team, getting to go into schools and show girls, like, hey, like maybe there's not a pro league right now, but there is Team USA, but like, you could go play college and do hockey, but like you build a community, you meet more people, you network more. And then as a kid, you don't really realize it. You're just like, oh, I'm meeting more friends. But later in life, it's like, I know people in all different avenues, and my network is so great because the hockey network in itself is so close. But yeah, I remember actually some girls coming to cross ice in the summer. I haven't told them yet, but they're on one of the Rink Rebels teams, and they've come and filled in on our team. And she was playing defense for us, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely taught cross ice to her.
Madison.
I was like, she's crushing it. She's doing great. So I just think visually getting to see that representation, but just how close, how much hockey, like no matter what the gender, whatever you are, like how close we are, I just think is so great. But the more you can see, like, wow, like now, like you mentioned the Atlanta Lynx, there's girls travel teams, then our team, the Rink Rebels, the Lady Thrashers, they're adult teams, but we have the KSU girls, the UGA girls, then there's not quite in Georgia, but like Clemson, Alabama, Tennessee, they all have teams now. And yes, it's that club, but getting to play a team like in a sport in college, even at a club level, really builds your network, really builds that community. You have friends, you have family, and being 18, going to college and stuff can be scary, but knowing like, oh, I have a team, like, you're protected and like set, like you have that. So I think the fact that girls hockey is growing and that the Atlanta Thrashers still has that love and like they're still there, and the Gladiators have helped continue that and grow that, I just think is great. And it really shows that hockey is still loved all over Georgia.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned all the club teams too, because I like
Mhm.
working in youth. The hardest part is like everyone sees the end game. It's like, well, the only end game is playing in the NHL. Well, okay, for the boy, it's like, well, it's not like, it's like, to me, like I wanted to do this. The minute I saw you girls playing in that team, like a lot of this that I was like, there's got to be something done here. Like this is really cool, because I told so many parents when I ran that youth program that, like, if your kids are playing hockey in an adult league 10, 12, 20, 30 years from now, then like that's a hockey success story to me. Like it's not, it doesn't all have to end with a Stanley Cup or a gold medal around their neck or over their head. Like it's just, it's growth of the game and continuing to play it. So I don't think enough boys families understand that either. But at the same time, like for young little girls, like to know that like that's something you can do for the rest of your life and build a community. There is a community around that, and there is like you said, networking ways to do. Like it's the same in the adult leagues with the men's teams. Like that's a success as well. So I think just with us doing this, you guys jumping on board and really helping a lot with this, that's the biggest thing I think, is the awareness of, wow, I didn't know there was a team. I don't know how many, like, you're not all from here. So how many, as you know, it's a transplant town. How many women families move here where maybe their kids play, but maybe the mom like played growing up. Well, now there's a network maybe they can find that they need to be aware of, and we need to get it out there that you want to join a adult league team, that's fine, but the whole group of girls that plays, like, and I think that's really cool. I see it with my son's a mite now, and I get out there and there's a few little girls that play, and one of the moms of our kids who played Division I hockey, and she's from Michigan. Well, they're here. Well, I think she might be even playing with you guys now. Lindsay Marini, she might be playing with either the Lady Thrashers or your guys' group she mentioned. But she was saying like how those girls like just are glued to her because she's the only woman out there. They're so glued to her and like are so excited when she's there. Like you can just see it with those little kids. It's huge. If we can have more of that out there, maybe they'll, again, trying to grow it that way with more women coaches that are there's many capable around here. And in all honesty, probably better communicators than a lot of us to these little kids out there. Let's just be honest. Like that's one thing she's really good at, where others maybe, the men maybe don't have the patience, but it's the truth. And it's pretty cool to see and how much they appreciate having a woman out there to follow along, which I'm sure you guys have seen.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite part. Honestly, I love playing the sport, but I love giving back and coaching. I mean, Olivia is the prime example. I can remember Olivia. She was probably 8U, and I was coaching her in a women's tournament or some roller hockey for something. And, you all of a sudden you blink and they're on your team. And little kids today, when they're on the ice with me, and I'm talking to him like, I can't wait. You're going to be playing with me someday. How old are you? I'm 8. All right. Well, in 10 more years, you can be on my team. And they look at you like, there's no way. That's not possible. But you blink and they're on your team, and it is possible.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to pour into those kids and make them like us so they don't take us out when we're adults.
Exactly.
They're adults.
Something else special.
That's part
sorry.
of the success, though. No, that's just like you said, but that's what it is. I think as a hockey success story, it's just like more people playing longer, longevity of it to me that's what it matters when I see a 6, 7, 8-year-old boy or girl. I agree.
Exactly.
Something I was going to add to that is, and Cat actually has done this, but whether sometimes at the end of a season game, whether it's your child's game or your own game, like sometimes teams rent out ice for the day and it's like a family skate, or you can do that on your own. And I was like, and I came out for one of Cat's, and I was just like, man, Cat, her husband, her son were all playing together. And like, I was like tearing up inside because I was like, that is so beautiful. The whole family gets to play. And then other families like Legos are all out there. And I was just like, this is so cool. You don't see it in many other sports where the whole family and other families are going to get to play and just have a good time. And this is happening in Georgia. And there's places for adults to start to learn to play. So if you're like, okay, my kid's just getting in it, like we have avenues for you to also start to play so you can play with your kid at fun times, like special events and stuff like that too, which I just think is one of the other beautiful parts of the game. Like I did after my college career and after the Thrashers and USA inline hockey, I did a sport called skeleton, and I was up in Lake Placid and Park City, and I was on Team USA, and
which is insane.
Yeah, so skeleton, which also just happened in the Olympics. But it was an individual sport, and I had a lot of, I made friends, and I also, I never really did an individual sport before, and it was really hard mentally to know, like, are we on the same team? We're on USA, but we're also competing against each other, and are we going to be friends after this, or are we not? And again, those were great life lessons, and I have no regrets, but I realized once I started playing again this year, I was like, man, I missed having a real team where we just support each other and help each other. And like, hey, you need some equipment? Hey, I got some extra breezers. You don't want to wear those? I got a pair for you. You can have them. And I'm like, man, I haven't had this in so long. And just having that extra community and just like the mothers and anybody caretakers, like having that outlet too, where it's like, okay, like, not only are we all hanging together, but like we get to go play a physical game and really put it all out there and have a good time. And my teammates will know I skate so hard. I'm huffing and puffing every between shifts, but I love it. I'm like, no, I need to do this. I need to skate as hard as I can. Like, it's like for the love of it. So, I just wanted to add how beautiful it is that you can play with your whole family even later in life is pretty cool.
I do have a couple of follow-up questions to that.
Mhm.
Number one, how in the world do you get into skeleton? I mean, at what point do you sit there and you're like, yeah, I really think that I'd like to go at a million miles an hour going head
Yeah.
first down? And like, what inspires that?
Well, I always wanted to be an action actress, and I'm actually a stunt performer in film and TV now, and I do acting as well. But before I even got into that, I was on the USA inline hockey team. I was actually working for the Atlanta Hawks, and an old strength coach up in Pittsburgh was talking to a strength coach at Kennesaw, and they were talking about me, and they said I should do bobsled, and they both convinced me to go to a combine where they test you how like fast, strong, like lifts, sprints, throws, and so I did it on a whim. I got ranked decent, and they're like, yeah, but you're actually way too small for bobsled. And I have like little person syndrome sometimes. Like everyone always says I'm small. I'm 5'2", but they're like, you're a great size for skeleton. You should do that. And I was like, what is it? And I looked it up, and I was like, didn't really comprehend how skilled you needed to be, but I was like, yeah, I could do that. And I moved to Lake Placid, went to the Olympic camp, and decided to just quit everything I was doing and move there. And yeah, I gave it my all from 2012, end of 2012, all the way to the 2018 Olympic, right before the Olympic Games, the trials. But yeah, it was crazy. I kind of just did it because I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I had good
Just
days,
tweaked
bad
enough,
days.
eh?
That's
Yeah,
Just
just
a,
a
kind of
little.
tweaked just enough.
Just a little.
and then that brings me to my next question, because you talk about Lake Placid, you talk about Park City, which are both Olympic towns.
Yeah.
They've been hosts, and it is pretty interesting considering Salt Lake is going to host
Yeah.
again in 2034.
Yeah.
And the future of the sport is so bright, not just on the men's side, but on the women's side as well. And I think I'd like to take a moment to highlight that what they're doing in the PWHL is absolutely awesome with the new teams with Vancouver and Seattle, and just overall as a whole. But what was it like being at those Olympic venues, and what is it like for not just you, but you, Olivia, and Kat, to see these new facilities popping up and watching the sport grow? Because one of the biggest things, and I think one of the things that is holding hockey back, is the lack of facilities around the country. So what's it been like to see that kind of grow from that perspective?
For when I actually was living in Lake Placid and then Park City, I actually did get my gear, like I did ship my gear or travel around my gear in my car, and as I was moving from place to place, and actually it was the summer of 2014, so right after the Sochi games, I befriended a bobsledder, and he's like, hey, can you teach me to play hockey? And I was like, how serious are you? Like, and so that summer I taught him to play hockey, and I happened to have a set of Atlanta Thrasher gear also that's like for someone that's at least 6 foot. So I gave him a set of that old gear, and we played hockey in the 1980 rink, and he kind of knew, but he didn't know like how special that rink was. And I ended up shooting like a bag of pucks that was in my bag, like an old bag, old gear. And I remember I shot top shelf an old puck, and like when I took it out, it was actually the Salt Lake City Games puck that I had that I got from one of the Olympians that I met at a camp, one of the female Olympians at a camp. Trying to remember if it was like Shelley Looney or Sue Mertz, and I was like, had this like wow, like this little moment. And then when I went to Park City, I made sure to visit all the venues. I was mainly at the bobsled skeleton track, but I don't know, just getting to be around there and that environment, it feels really special. You're around a lot of inspirational people and really motivates you to train hard. But to see Utah now have the Mammoth there and I haven't been there since, and to see the PWHL, I was actually thinking I want to get our girls team, like our women's team, to like have a trip to go just watch a pro game somewhere, whether Boston or wherever we could go. But I want to go watch them. I wish they were closer, but I'd be willing to make a trip to go watch pro women's hockey. And lack of the facilities, I do think that's a truth. But yeah, as I think the PWHL did a great job in 5 years of work into trying to figure out their business model and their business plan to make it successful. I think that's a page in the book that men and women can take to learn in developing rinks and how to make them successful and how to utilize every bit of space and how, like everything that they had to do and plan for 5 years is a testament to like their success. But just knowing how to make revenue and make it profitable from the ground up and from the grassroots all the way to the elite level is something that's very important for every city or everywhere you're going to have a venue. But I encourage it. I want it. I want more hockey. I want more venues. So bring it on.
Yeah, I mean, growing up playing ice hockey here, the number one question is, where do you play? Where's the rink? And I think there was like 3 main rinks we would go to. It was, at the time, it was the Duluth Ice Forum, the Kennesaw Ice Forum, and then the one in Marietta, the MIC, which doesn't exist anymore. So, like, those were like your 3 main ones, and the cooler. RIP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, those were like your 4 main rinks that you would have to skate at, and a lot of those, Duluth was and still is the closest to me, and the other ones you have to drive over an hour away to get there, depending on where you live. So I mean, I remember we would have practice sometimes at the Kennesaw rink, and my dad would have to leave work early, would be driving in rush hour traffic. Took us an hour and a half to get there. He was dedicated, very, very dedicated. I'm glad to see there's more rinks that are up. You've got the ice, you've got Center Ice in Sandy Springs. There's a new rink in Marietta, I think now.
Yeah, the Ice House. Yep.
So there are more rinks coming up, and there's Athens now has the Rock Lobsters, and so hockey is growing. Hockey is booming in the South, and I'm glad to see that. I know a lot of my old teammates are now a coach for a team based out of Nashville, the Junior Preds, and they have a girls program, and they're doing really well. And the Nashville Predators have, when they started doing really well and made it to the playoffs, like hockey started booming there too. So it's going to happen, and it's going to happen hopefully in the next few years to where the demand is high, and we want an NHL team here. For sure.
So touching on that, and I guess it's a Gladiators ECHL podcast. I get it. So it's maybe unpopular to discuss, but I don't care because I've been open about this, and I know everyone thinks like, oh, wouldn't that hurt you? Like, I was here, I played here when the Thrashers were here, and it never hurt us. Like, honestly, some nights now, their location didn't help them. There's the ownership group at the time didn't help them. We outdrew them some nights, and but that's not because it was them. It was because there was that many hockey fans here, and there's a draw to it. I think you mentioning that, and I know Megan, you mentioned earlier, it was nice of you to say that we're trying to do some of the same things. Yes, that the Thrashers did. We don't have the resources though. Like at this level, like it's just a fact. We can try to be there and help out. We don't have our own facility. We don't, they had the junior Thrashers. They had that stuff. So yes, I want an NHL team here. My son is 6, almost 7, but he's a mite. Like he loves hockey. He's crazy about it. But what that would do to that age group of kids and of boys and girls, because the thing is now, as you've seen it in Vegas, you've seen it with all these new cities, there's a model that's drawn now by the NHL and by the PWHL that's like, if you cannot come into this city if you do not have a plan to grow the game and youth hockey. So there's no chance of them getting that if they don't have a plan in place and have proved that to the NHL that this is what we're going to put into that to grow it. So for everyone involved, it would be incredible at the youth level. Like talking about why does Austin Matthews, how was he playing the NHL? He wouldn't if it wasn't for Wayne Gretzky going to LA back in the 80s. Like there's no Phoenix would not have got a team if they didn't grow, And I know, yes, RIP, Phoenix Coyotes as well.
Yeah.
But if they didn't end up there, that doesn't happen. And there's a lot of chain reactions to that. The amount of kids coming out, the Hughes brothers were born in Florida. That doesn't, their parents are different. They were both involved in it, but the amount of players coming out of Florida, amount of players coming out of Texas, amount of players coming out of Arizona, California, like that's what happens. And like we get another team here that's really invested in that in 18 to 20 years. I'm excited to hear the story of a kid that was born in Atlanta, Georgia. There are a slew of them that are the same way. Women, or joining the PWHL, joining the NHL for boys. Like, I want to see all that. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm not scared to talk about an NHL team here. Whatever anyone says, like, we're still here to promote the game is what we're trying to do. So anyone else that wants to at any level, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's hope it happens, as I do think it's only going to get more eyes on the game, and then we're still going to be the more affordable brand. So when I say, that's $2 billion for an NHL team, is every family going to be able to afford to go to that? No, it's going to get a little corporate. They're going to do it the right way. But then, hey, like, our kids got a fix of this. What makes sense? Then come watch us, whether that's the boys, girls, whatever. And then there's the growth, and we just jump on and help out with it. So I don't know your thoughts on that. I think you agree, but
yeah, the other thing I'll say is our population in Georgia has doubled, especially in Atlanta. So there's so many more people here from all over, and so many more hockey players. I mean, you even look at the adult leagues and how the size has grown. And now there's rinks all over. You go to Tampa, there's rinks everywhere. You go to Nashville, there's so many beautiful facilities. So the sport is only gaining more momentum. And wherever they put those teams are going to help, to your point, Derek, help it to continue to perpetuate the sport. And there's plenty of hockey for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with both things that you said, Derek, with it's not going to take away anything from the Gladiators, and Gladiators are still going to get love. They'll get probably even more love. And it's just sometimes NHL will still be family friendly, but like it'll be a lot harder to be a season ticket holder for certain families, but it'll be like a special once a year game. But Gladiators, it's like, yes, we can be season ticket holders, and this is something we can build family memories with and constantly go to games. And it's not just one game. We get to go all the time. I think of memories like that when I got to go to more Glads games, and even like when I was working for the Thrashers, but like, but I had love for both of them, and it didn't take anything away. But also it's been proven with the new business models, like this costs this much to put in an NHL team, and you have to have this type of business model and this business plan. And Atlanta's had to learn some tough things with their former NHL teams, but I will give a little shout out to some of the Atlanta Thrashers hockey development team, and Reagan Carey. She was part of developing USA Hockey's current hockey development grassroots program that has now been really successful, and that was incubated with the Thrashers. So I just want to give some love there. And she was also part of the USA Hockey. She was USA Women's Hockey Director and took the girls to a couple of games, and now she's, I forget, maybe commissioner. But she's a big part of the PWHL. So, and she is from Atlanta, and she played for the Lady Thrashers, and I used to play with her way back when, and she was my boss. But I just want to give love. Like, it will be awesome to see pro women or men at the NHL or PWHL level, and it's safe from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be awesome. And we've seen it with Florida, Texas, California. So it's like matter of time as well. But yeah.
And I know I mentioned an NHL team here, but you had said, hey, it'd be great to go to Boston with your group and watch a PWHL game. But I think, though, I do think with the growth in the Southeast, like and with the PWHL, with some of the markets they're in that are crushing attendance, I do think it's just a matter of time until the Southeast gets a team as well. Like, I think they're going to keep expanding. Obviously, this Olympics is going to help every 4 years. It's going to keep just helping a little more. But I hope that at some point it's just like hey, we're going to go to a game. Well, it's only an hour away, 3 hours away, 4 hours away, whether that's somewhere in Florida, somewhere in Tennessee, Carolinas, Georgia for a PWHL team. I think that's definitely possible. Absolutely, the way it is growing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to note this real quick. I had to look it up real quick, but USA Hockey has reached a milestone with 100,000 registered girls and women playing the sport. Just as of recently, like right after these games, it was. So Hillary Knight went out and I guess met the 100,000 girl that signed up.
Nice.
But I was like, just like Olivia and Kat said, I was like, that was nowhere near the number back when, all of us played. And so that's an actual fact number that we're like, wow, that's just registered USA Hockey. So then there's more than that too, but so
we're getting real stats on the pod now.
We're pulling out numbers. Yeah, that's how you know it's official. No, but I mean, I think you all have to give yourselves a big pat on the back too. I mean, all three of you have been a part of that growth of the sport, which is awesome. I mean, it's so great to see not just the sport growing, but to see everybody involved, men, women, adults, kids. It really is special to see. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it, but we're obviously really, I won't take any more of your time, but really thanks for doing this. Really excited to have you guys obviously on April 4th. That'll be a fun day for you guys and us all around, but to get out there, and I know some of your families get to be able to watch you guys play as well, bring them in and then come back into the game that night. We definitely recognize you guys for what you're still doing too. And I think moving forward, obviously we'd love to reach out, and if we are doing more youth stuff, like obviously have you guys involved. I will plug one more thing. You mentioned the Try Hockey for Free days. That was just this last weekend in Duluth. The Ice incoming on April 18th. They are running a Try Hockey for Free girls only day. So I don't know if it's out there yet for them. So we want to definitely plug that when this comes out, and I don't know how much help they're looking for, but obviously they know there's some girls around that I think that'd be important to have a lot of women out there helping these young girls.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Good.
I love hearing that.
Awesome.
Well, Olivia, Megan, Kat, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about women in hockey. As like Derek said, we are looking forward to seeing you all on April 4th, and it's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
See you then. Thank you.
Thank you.